can you please tell us your name and where we are today? And then if you want to say that in French.
No, no,
Why
just kidding.
not?
No, no, no.
No, I like that.
No, no.
Tammy's all into it. We good? So we're doing a documentation project for the Library of Congress, and we are here today with Roy Parfait at the Houma South Down Library, and today is June 15th, 2022. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and to share with us. Yeah. Can you please tell us what your name is and where
No, Roy Adam Parfait.
And we're here in Houma. Are you originally from Houma?
Yes, Dulac.
Dulac?
I was born and raised in Dulac.
Can you tell us about Dulac? How would you describe it?
Describe it as a little fishing village, and I mentioned Dulac, and sometimes they say, "Oh, I know, that's way out there." I say, "Yeah, it's way out there, but if they ever set up a red light or a dollar store, I'm leaving." But it's a fishing village, and I like to say also that for years, it's been one of the top 3 ports in the seafood ports in the nation. My brother used to get these letters from the Wildlife and Fisheries, and they mentioned that Dulac was just about always in the top 3 seafood ports in the nation. Mm-hmm. And my daddy's always fish. That's all he's ever done, fish trap, and I've done some of it. He's never driven a car, nor my mama, But so raised mostly on the land, water, fish, and the land. My grandpa had a huge garden, but I went to school at the Dulac Indian Mission. The church, Methodist church had. We weren't allowed in the schools, and one day the director came to Houma, and at that time it was the police jury, now it's the council, and he said, "You're getting money for these kids down there, but you're not providing school." And they gave him pencils and papers, thinking, that was good. But he went to Baton Rouge and talked with the people there, and they gave us our first Indian school across from the Dulac Indian Mission, and I believe that was 57, and we started school there. And after I finished there, the 8th grade, the parish finally gave us an Indian school here in Houma. It's right in Houma, a little section they call Deckville. So it was Deckville High School. And in 1962, me and 4 others of our people, Indian people, graduated. It was first Indian graduating class. And after that, worked on the boats, and then I was in the Army for 3 years. I come out, worked mainly offshore, and had other jobs, like at the Dulac Community Center. I ran the center for in the early, about 1980, for about 6, 7 years, something like that, and doing other little odd jobs. Well, not odd. Different places. I worked for the Terrebonne Council on Aging, but mainly, Terrebonne Council on Aging, and I'm trying to think of some other places I worked. But and I started carving too. Actually, about 79, 80, and I've been doing craft shows, and I've been lucky. I was also elected me in 79, 1980, as a volunteer co-op manager. I would bring people, some of our people, to shows, and some weren't able to speak English even, and I would sell their crafts and mine. Not so much mine at that time, but sometime after 1993, 94, 96, I got to go to France with our craft. And at that time, I was doing a lot of my carvings. And been to the Smithsonian twice, also to their Folklife festivals. And I've been doing major festivals in Louisiana, Lafayette, New Orleans, Natchitoches since then, and I still do it, still carving.
What was it that got you inspired to start carving? Why? Yeah, why'd you pick that up?
It was a long time, like I say, it's probably 79. And what started me, I don't know, but my brothers could draw and paint. I couldn't do that. I mean, they just did it like that, you know. So I just started carving, just grabbed it and started carving, and I just enjoyed it, and it was really a passion I saw after, you know, my doing it, because I just love to do it, you know, and I'm still doing it.
Where do you get your wood from that you use to carve?
I traveled up. As a matter of fact, Sunday night, just got back from Gatlinburg and Cherokee, and out of Gatlinburg, there's this little town, Townsend. This one man had a shop for carvers, and he would supply. I would get a lot of wood from him, and after 19 years, he shut down, closed the shop, and it's a little harder for me to get wood now. I was up in Gatlinburg. I went to Airmont School, and I find out they sell some wood, and about 3 days ago, I found out that they're not selling the wood anymore, but they had odd small pieces, and I do a lot of small animals, so I got to bring back some wood, but it's harder to find the wood I need now. In New Orleans, they used to have like this mahogany, black walnut, which was great wood to carve, and you can't get it anymore, hardly get it anywhere around. Can't get the black walnut and the real mahogany. They have a substitute, which is quite different.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite kind of wood?
Well, I used to love willow, and that's another story, because at one time it was hard to find, and the reason I got so much one time was this man told me in Houma, the trade school had ordered some wood, they never picked it up, so he got to sell it to me. And the willow is real nice, real great to carve, and real cheap. And now the shops don't have it because they all tell me the funeral homes buys it for their coffins, and you can't find it except small pieces, 3/4-inch pieces, you know, boards, and so I can't get it anymore. And like I say, the walnut, the black walnut, African black walnut, maybe some specialty shop might have them, you know, find out later maybe, you know. But can't get the wood like you used to. Cypress, even cypress, which is common. There's a select cypress, which hardly has any grain, which is great to carve. Even the lumber yards don't carry it like they used to. Mm. So the wood's it's kind of a problem now.
Because we have a lot of willow that grows here. Is that the same kind of willow, or it's a different?
There's different kind of willow. Now, my buddy and I had tried to dry some, and it really cracked. We had it under the house, out of the sun, because I'm not going to put any wood in the sun. But it still cracked all over. And I never tried it again, you know. And willow's plentiful. Maybe I should try another way of doing it, working it. But and I've seen some in shop, like I say, like the one in Townsend out of Gatlinburg. They had what they call a diamond willow, but it was mainly small pieces. You know, I use a lot of blocks, like 4x6 by 12, for my small animals, and I can get some I used to get mahogany and cherry and cedar, which is red. I could use for like an otter or a cardinal or something red. Willow was great for my brown, like for my raccoons, you know. And that's what I would usually go by, the kind of animal it was, and use that kind of wood, you know.
What was the first thing that you carved? Do you remember?
I think it was a little bear that turned out like a little pig. Well, that's the only thing I can remember right now.
You're saying you carve little animals. What kind of animals?
I do all kinds of animals: bears, beavers, rabbits, fish, birds. And I don't do too many ducks. I'll do a life size maybe once a year. But I carve a lot of small ones and small rabbits and some larger one. I really wanted to do abstract pieces, but I find out that at craft shows, people like small pieces, different kinds of animals, you know. So I don't do, so that was mainly what I was doing for the last few years, you know. Beavers, and once in a while I try something different, like this mosquito hawk with wings on a branch, because most of my pieces are one piece. I would do a heron. I do a heron about 17 inches high. And the biggest piece I've ever done was 3 feet for a doctor, a heron. And I've done dugouts, take some cypress and dig out the middle, 2-3 feet. I would do those sometimes. That takes a long time. And those are the bigger pieces I would do. But it's mostly small animals, bird, fish, and I would do. I do now. Buffaloes, eagles.
Can you talk a little bit about the abstract pieces that you would like to do, or that
I just love abstract. I have a friend in Lafayette. They call him the Cajun Picasso. You should see his work. If you like Picasso, you like his work. He does all sizes, but I'm talking about just all kinds of things he comes out with. And I talked with his dad, and his dad said, I don't know where he gets those ideas. But he runs this art association gallery in Lafayette, and he hasn't been out that long, but he's well known now. You know. But I just love abstract pieces. You know, I'll get books, and I've tried smaller pieces of wood because I can't get these used pieces, you know, like you see in magazines. And then mostly I do the small pieces because there's probably a show coming up, you know. I just did the Jazz Fest, and in Gatlinburg and Cherokee, I would sell over there. There's 2 shops that buys from me a lot, you know, whenever I have, well, except the last 4 or 5 years, sales have been slow, but the stores have been slow selling, you know, because of the economy and whatever. They're not selling as much. But uh, I, I had started slowing down some about a year or so ago, but lately I've been coming back because for years since '79, I would just carve, carve, carve. You know, even with my jobs I had, sometimes the people would allow me to do carvings, depending what kind of job it was.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the co-op that you were um, organizing at the Dulac Community Center, and how that came about, and yeah, how it worked out over the years, and
Yeah,
why it doesn't exist anymore?
yeah. Uh, well, I was doing my carving probably '79. You know, I started, and there were other people doing things with crafts, and this man came down, Mr. Sawaski from Canada, and he came down as our volunteer co-op manager at the Dulac Community Center. And he would take us to shows like the Jazz Fest and Natchitoches and Lafayette. He was down for 2 years, but he's the one who started us traveling. And we would go and demonstrate and sell our craft, and he would sell them for us when we didn't go at different festivals. But he left, I don't know, 1980, 81, give or take, or 2 a year. And before he left, we set up a shop in the Dulac Community Center. We fixed up this room, he patched up the walls and painted it, and we set up our craft for the people. Well, he started the co-op, so we got some people to join, and these people would bring their crafts, and we actually would go get them, and we would set them up in the Dulac Community Center and sell them at shows. Now, when he was ready to leave, they selected me as our volunteer co-op manager, and I'm still considered the volunteer co-op manager of our tribe, and but we don't have the people we used to have. Like Miss Marie, she did traditional palmetto weaving and hats, fan, basket dolls, and moss dolls, and she's gone. Mr. Cyril, Ivy's daddy, he would do basket, and I would sell his cypress basket. And that was the only family doing those. And then Ivy and his brother would do them sometimes, but they won't do them anymore because they don't get paid for the work. And that's how it is with craft. You do it by hand, chances are you're not gonna get your money's worth. But we set up the shop, and I would sell out of the shop. And I would also bring people to the different festivals Mr. Sawaski used to take us to also. And it was good because some of the people couldn't even speak English, but like me and Miss Marie, we traveled to the Smithsonian, and and I would bring her to Jazz Fest, Lafayette, and Natchitoches, different shows. And her brother too, he and I did a lot of the large dugouts, and there were others. And I'm sorry to say they're gone, and there's very few craft people now. And so there's hardly any different, there's very few people who do like the moss and the palmetto weaving.
Why do you think that is?
Well, some died.
No, I mean, why? No, but why do you think it isn't been passed on? Why, or that the next
Yeah.
generation isn't?
Usually it's passed on in families, and like Miss Marie's granddaughter, she'll do some moss, but very few, you know. And she had a niece who told me not too long ago, she would do these palmetto dowels, moss dowels, and also jewelry with semi-precious stone. And she was real good. And a year, just a few months ago, she told me she was gonna quit, and Ivy told me he was gonna quit carving a few times. I used to bring Ivy. Ivy wouldn't drive to Lafayette or New Orleans, Kenner or Natchitoches, and Douglas has been taking him to New Orleans lately. But he said he's gonna quit too, carving. Or he said a lot of time he's quit. But the Jazz Fest, they called him and he went, and some people in North Carolina too wanted pieces, so he would do them, you know. But he's not carving like he used to. So there's very few people doing it, you know. There are 2 or 3 people who do the palmetto weaving, but they do it for certain shows, you know. But it's very limited now, you know.
Do you feel like the co-op, when it was formally organized in the early '80s, do you think that that was a really beneficial thing for individuals, and was it beneficial for the tribe as well?
Yeah, I really think so. Because when we went to Washington, D.C., we had these senators, representatives, whatever, come over to our booth and talk with us and talk about the tribe like they were really interested. But you got to get enough interested of them interested in it. And they really like what we were doing, you know. And of course at the shows, I go somewhere and they say, I didn't know there were Indians down there, you know. And but people got to know us more in a way, you know. I mean, there's a lot left to go on that, but people enjoyed our craft, you know. And of course, like I say, some couldn't do it on their own, you know. So it was like an extra income to them. As a matter of fact, right now, I depend a lot on my carvings for my income, you know, to supplement my income. And I know it would help these people who were doing it, you know. This was their extra few dollars, you know, they could use, you know, for home. And so I know it helped the tribe quite a bit, you know. And like I say, now we don't have as many craft people, and so I have maybe 2 or 3 other people I might take their crafts who don't somewhat go to shows. They won't leave home, you know. And I have 2 or 3 people like that. But like I say, like one who, Miss Marie's niece, she's thinking about, well, she says she's going to quit, you know. She quit, you know.
And making handmade objects is very time consuming and a labor of love.
Yeah.
And having the festivals and I guess powwows too have been venues for you. Are there any other places where you've had the opportunity to sell your work that has been a really good market for you?
Well, when I was our volunteer co-op manager, I used to visit New Orleans often. We had 2 shops that was buy, and they would really buy a lot. But like Miss Marie's Mall's dolls, you know, I'll sell a couple or two dozens in one spot with the other dolls, hats, and other carvings I had, you know. For years, it was real good. And consignments wasn't that good because, you know, they're not mass produced. And I would pick up enough things to bring to a show, you know, but I would usually have plenty enough to bring to shows. And so the, the members of the tribe, you know, did real good. Now, our big thing was when Mr. Sawaski was there, we did volunteer work. Well, except for the people he would bring to demonstrate and who would get paid for that, you know. But as for the selling, we were hoping one day to be able to pay a manager with the profit. We would add 50% to all the craft. We would get them from the people. We would add 50%. We were hoping we would have an account one day where we were able to pay a manager. Well, that never happened. You know, we never made enough to sell, to be able to pay someone to manage the co-op. You know, so. My thing was, after I was at the Dulai Community Center, they made me director, program director. So I was happy to bring the people or go to the different buyers and pick up the craft to take to shows. I figure I was blessed with a job, and I really believe in what I was doing. So I did it as a manager, and still considered a manager if there's craft, you know.
Well, that's a really important job to have for a very long time. So thank you for doing that, because it's not easy, I'm sure.
Oh, I was happy to do it, you know. I'm still happy to do it. I believe in it, you know, but it's not like I say, like when I used to have these shops in New Orleans and Lafayette, you know, and then there's one in Natchez, Mississippi. This lady used to buy from us, and I would meet her in Natchitoches, and she hadn't been there for a while, and about 3 years ago I got a hold of her, but it was mostly my carvings, because I didn't have the Moss dolls and hats, palmetto items like we used to, but the museum will buy over there too, you know, if I have the craft.
Are there? I'm just wondering if there's any elders that you remember when you were young and growing up in Dulac, and any crafts or traditional things that they were making with their hands that you don't see anymore? That's something, you know, are there, what didn't get to your generation passed down?
Yeah, there were hardly anybody who was doing the craft like we were doing after the co-op, you know. But we knew that Miss Marie would always do these things, you know, just maybe personal things or maybe for someone special, one item, you know. And I remember an uncle of mine making a wheel for his boat. You see these big steering wheels for riverboats. Well, I remember him just carving out the little wheel, you know, just like it, you know, but for himself, for his personal use, for his boat, really, you know. And my uncle used to tell me that my grandpa used to carve, but I knew my grandpa when I was small, but I never knew him for carving, you know. and hardly anybody else. You know, when I grew up, there weren't people doing those things really to craft to sell. You know, no.
What about paddle makers or boat builders? Do you have any?
Well, yeah, Mr. Lawrence, they said he built most of the boats down the bayou, you know, and he always did that. And then he started doing the little pirogues and crafts and, like I was saying, the little dugouts, you know, so he could sell. And he started doing that, you know, but before he was into boat building, you know, he would build boats, and there was Mr. Lawrence and another man of Francis of our people who built boats also, but something they learned, I guess, from their family, because Mr. Lawrence's son could build boats too, you know.
You're self-taught carver though?
I consider myself self-taught, yeah. While I was, while Mr. Sawaski was there, well, I can't remember if he was exactly there, but I know we got, or someone from the center got someone from Cherokee, North Carolina, to come down and teach us. And these were well-known carvers, and they really enjoyed it down there. And I think that's when I first made that little bear, you know, Bill Crow and his uncle G.B. Tchaikovsky. But they were well known around North Carolina and the area. And they were gone too. It's been a while.
Are they Native American?
Yeah, Cherokee.
Cherokee.
From Cherokee, North Carolina, and one day these three ladies from Cherokee, North Carolina stopped at our shop in the Dulai Community Center, and they bought, just about cleaned us out, you know. And I said, oh, I've heard from Bill Crow and GP about the Cherokees up there and the area. I said, I would love to go. And this lady, Miss Dupree, who ran the Koala Co-op, is one of the biggest, probably the biggest shop there, and one of the biggest craft shop, Native American craft shop around. She said, well, come over, bring some craft. This was the early 80s, and I have been going over there ever since. She's gone. There's another lady, Vicky. She's there. But I go every year, and I was there last Thursday.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, they used to buy quite a bit, but like I said, because of the economy, like a lot of other shops, they're gone. They're not buying as much, you know.
Do you feel like that relationship has helped to lift up the craft workers here and the art workers? Do you think by having that as a model or being in conversation with another?
Well, there's not much connection with the locals because there aren't that many, you know. So I take, when I go up there, now it's mainly my carvings I take, you know, but if somebody else has something, I'll go, you know. And it was popular, the palmetto, moss items and all that, you know, but I don't get them anymore, you know.
And you strictly work with carving. Are there other art forms that you dabble in?
I have clay, metal, beads, you name it. But they sit there. I get with my carvings. Yeah, I had canvas paintings a few years ago. I just gave them to Ivy, and it's something I've been wanting to do. And lately, I've been looking into it again. But what it is, I get with my carvings and I stick with my carvings, you know. But like I used to travel to Santa Fe, New Mexico for years, and there's the August Indian market, which is advertised as the world's largest Indian market. I would visit there in August when they have it. And I would always bring me back some soapstone. Soapstone is a stone you can carve with a regular knife. And I would always buy some in North Carolina and Tennessee also. And I just haven't really gotten to it. And as for the clay, I think I still have the clay, and it's old. But the other thing that never left me, is I want to do abstract pieces in metal too, also, you know, in wood too, you know. But I'm not set up for it yet, you know, just yet. I say yet, but I hope I'm not too late.
Well, I think I really want to see your abstract vision because it sounds so interesting, but I recognize that probably is harder to move in the marketplace than something else. But yeah, if you didn't have any sort of financial obligations and you could just do whatever you wanted to do, would
Exactly.
you be making other things, do you think?
Yeah. Since the hurricane and the virus, it changed things a lot, and I hope to do some other things, but you know, my little rabbits, my little beaver bears, and all that would supplement my income, you know, quite a bit. And it's going to be a change with the different pieces I want to make now, you know. And I don't know exactly how that's going to work, because I hope to do different pieces from what I've been doing. And I need something to supplement my income, but I'm thinking I can do some limited pieces, you know, different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned the hurricane and the virus as being disruptions to our lives.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure you've been through your fair share of storms and change. I don't know if you have anything you want to kind of share with us about what you've seen, how things have changed in your life down in Dulac, and you know, any part of your experience from last hurricane season in 2021 when Hurricane Ida had kind of a direct hit on Dulac, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just curious.
Well, this hurricane was quite different. We've had hurricanes before. We left home, and the place would flood. We have a levee now. We haven't been flooded for a while. This hurricane was quite different. It was wind we experienced for the first time. You know, we had never had anything like it. Well, the flooding before, 2-3 days, the water go out, we go back home, clean out the floor and furniture, move in. After, you know, 2, 3, 4 days maybe. This one wasn't like that, you know. We had to find a place to stay and stay. Our house was damaged, we can't move into our home. It was a good while before some man who would loan out this camper to people in need, just on his own though, you know. And so we got a camper, my sister and I, and then we had to wait on FEMA, and it was a good while before we got this FEMA trailer. So we got that FEMA trailer, and we had some Mennonite who came down, and we're not sure. We're going to see them back in October, but so far it's looking good. I say looking good. They want to build a new home. Well, they're building homes down the bayou. And my idea was to rebuild our home, because my daddy built that home. He had inch cypress, and the walls are still there. You know, the siding went off, and the roof went off. We had a tin roof. Now that's going to be different. You know, it's going to be shingles like what they have now. But I wanted our old house rebuilt, and I then sometime after we had the people come, oh, we want to rebuild a home, build a new home, you know. So that's kind of what I settled on, you know, if we can get one, you know. But we're not going to have the home again because of this hurricane we had. Like I say before, you go back home, you know, and it's not like that anymore. And I think the elevation has changed. We were like 11 feet. Well, the law in '76 was 11 feet above sea level, and we went up above. And they say since then it's changed quite a bit. FEMA's changed it quite a bit. So to rebuild, we would have to probably go up some, you know. But there's the levee that stopped the flooding, you know, and we don't have to worry about that. But the wind was something else, you know, quite different.
As an artist and an art maker, when a storm's coming, what is it that you know, what is it that you think about, you know, to be able to keep making your work, and what is it that would be helpful for you during those times to be able to keep doing your work and to I think that's a big question, but I think about that myself a lot too. But.
Well, see, I could leave. I have a collection, like some of my first pieces, you know, I could take with me and some clothes. And if we were flooded, you know I would have that left. But now, if, like in this case, I left some pieces that weren't finished, like before, you know, and the clothes, that all went with this hurricane. It's gone, and I'm trying to save some of the pieces I had started before, you know, but the mildew had gotten into the wood, and that's a problem, because I try to sand it where the mildew, the color would disappear, you know, which is way inside. So what I'm going to do is sand it, hopefully, and then spray paint. I always wanted to paint, but I don't know how I would be with art paint, you know. But I know there's some pieces I can save by painting, you know, and that's the only way I'll be able to save some of my pieces I've started. Because after all these years, I have quite a few, you know. I started and put on the side for later, you know. Yes.
Does the Smithsonian have some of your pieces in their collection at in DC?
We used to have this man, Mr. Richmond, who would come over to our shop and do and he would buy, and he was from the Department of the Interior. And I understand there was a storage in Oklahoma, I believe, and he would buy for the Smithsonian also. That's what I understood, you know. And I know of Miss Marie's pieces. Some people told me the new museum. Well, I say new, you know, the one from Native American. They said she has pieces there, and some people told me I have pieces there. I don't know. I've gotten the name of someone who could tell me. I never called to see if I had pieces there or not. But some people said they've seen some of my pieces there, you know.
You mentioned Miss Marie Dean. I imagine that she's an artist that you respect and who's inspired you. Um, I don't know if you want to share a little bit more about her, and then also just curious to know about other artists that you've worked with that you know personally, or people that you don't know. You've mentioned a couple, but people whose work that has inspired you.
Well, Miss Marie actually would do this in her spare time because she worked in factories. She died. She was probably 90 something years old, but she worked in factories down home, and she used to tell me, like there wasn't any heat, there wasn't any air in the factories, the old places, a long time ago, and they get up 2 o'clock in the morning and just work all day, and so since she was older, she had time to do some of her craft, and I understand this was carried down, in her family, and
what kind of factories?
Shrimp factory. The shrimp factories down home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, shrimp, crab, and her brother, Mr. Lawrence, well, he built both, but a lot of the people that were shrimping, like my daddy and my cousins, that's the kind of work they did, shrimping and trapping. We used to go to Michoud, New Orleans East, once a year when I was small. About 5 families, like uncles and cousins, their families, we would travel to Michoud for the trapping season and then come back down. And I tell you, I remember going back home, like this was in the wintertime, and there were icicles. We used to have icicles. You don't see that anymore, and at home, we had drums of water, ice, but our families, that's what they did: fish and trap, hunt,
Mm-hmm.
So we were raised on the land, you could say, and water.
Yeah. And how long would y'all be out at Michoud?
Just for the trapping season, whatever that was. I was young, but we went to a school, and I was young then. George Washington Carver, I believe it was. And we were way out there. It was by a lake, and my dad and cousin would set up traps around there. It was mainly muskrats, otters, mink, And I remember once in a while they would have an alligator, I guess. Well, they would sell them too, sell those too.
They would skin. What would they do with the alligator? You mean
skin them? They would skin them and roll them up in salt, to preserve, and then they would sell the hide,
Mm-hmm. Were they working for individual landowner or a company?
I tell you, we had this man who married one of my cousins, but he was a B.O. I don't know much about his family, but he married one of our cousins who lived next door, and they moved to the West Bank. And I'm sure you know of Robert B.O.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. His mom. She
Elvire?
was from.
Elvire?
No. Toot. I can't remember her real name right now, Cousin Toot and Cousin Titud of Foray. And they were from down home, but they brought their kids to the West Bank so they could have school. And they did, because Cousin Toot, Robert, mayor and representative, and one of the girls, one of the Brenda, she retired, I believe, from Ochsner. But you know, there was Cousin Toot and Cousin Titud was smart enough to bring their people to the West Bank so that they could have school, you know. And Mr. Harry B.O., who married Cousin Toot, I don't know where his family was from, you know, but he would buy the furs and things from my dad and the other people. He was the buyer, you know. And at that time, like I say, it was the muskrat, and then down home, of course, they had muskrat, and then it got to be only the nutries now, you know. There's hardly any more muskrat, but Dad would trap nutries too for a while, you know. Well, he always worked. He would trap or fish, trap and fish, you know.
What was his name?
Antoine Parfait, yeah.
Antoine.
Yeah.
And your mom's name?
Edna Dean. She was a dean.
Okay.
And my grandpa, Dean, and my grandma was a B.O. And that's how the Mennonite did our genealogy on the B.O. And I tell everybody, I said, the only B.O. I'm related to is my grandma. But my uncle used to tell me that my uncle Dean, John Dean, his family was originally from France, and my grandpa had a French Bible. He could read and write French. I can't. Now, I grew up speaking French, and I knew all my prayers, my rosary in French, and then I started catechism in school. That all went. And that's one thing I feel sorry about, that I forgot all my prayers in French, you know, and I've been wanting to learn again, but our French, not the new French. And people, I've heard people say often, oh, this broken down French. I was in France. I went to Germany, and I used to, I was in the army, and I used to travel to France and speak French with the people. But in 93, 94, 96, some people from Lafayette were going to France with crafts for shows, 11-day shows. And we went to 3 shows, 3 different cities. And I want to tell you about the broken down French. we had Préjean, the restaurant from Lafayette, which is probably the biggest restaurant, Cajun restaurant, and Roy's from Crawley, and so each year we had them, and they had about 6 craft people, me and 5 others, and we would sell our craft till about 8, 9 o'clock at night, but the restaurant was still open till 11. And we got to meet a lot of people. And some would stay and talk with us, and mainly French. So one time, this guy, about 40 or so, a French professor, he was there with his girl. And he was like on the other end. And I called him up. I said, "Bien, what ici?" You know, like in our French. So he comes up, and he's just about laughing. I said, "Why are you just about laughing when I call you?" And he tells me in French, he said, when I called him, he said, "You say that just like my mama." And here he is, he's only about 40 or so, you know. And even in France, you know, it's changed that much. But like the 11-day festivals we went to, each one was 11 days, I believe. And we had thousands of people, really. and we would speak French to them, and we all got along real well. And most of them would say that we spoke the old French. They had 23 people from Lafayette, and I was the only one from down here. And they could all speak French except one lady. And so that was interesting. And the town, I remember Carver, which I think that's the twin city of Houma, Tours, and I forget the other name, the other town. But we were near the Swiss border, and I met 3 families of Parfaits.
Oh,
Yeah.
your cousins.
Yeah, cousins, yeah. One young couple, he got a kick out of it. I told him I was part Indian too. He looked at me. And other middle-aged people. And someone I talked to said, oh, he knows Parfait, who's a boat builder. I don't know what part of France. But they were telling me the Parfaits, they were known back in the Crusades. They were really religious people, and that they were well known, the Parfaits. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting. And who brought you over to France?
In Lafayette, there's a place, I forget what it's called, like a council.
Codeville?
Well, I think they were involved with Codeville, but it's some office that's connected with the French government, French people. And it's still there in France, in Lafayette, in the middle of town. French consul, something like that,
Oh, yeah, the French consulate.
And the man who brought us is retired probably about 3-4 years ago, Gustav. And he was real nice. And like I say, and we had like 3 bands. Well, it was mostly the C band, Cajun band, French band, and the only thing different was we had a gospel group from New Orleans, and it was these black guys with a piano, and it was really something. I mean, the people over there, couldn't believe it, and I couldn't either. They were really good,
Nice.
And they came one year, but the other times we had we always had the Cajun band, Cajun restaurant, and we had a Cajun shop that sell hot sauce and Cajun bandanas and other French, Cajun food items, yeah.
That sounds like an adventure.
It was great. It was
Yeah.
great. And the pieces we sold, because, what we got $10 from here, we could get $40 over there. Excuse me, because everything's higher in France, much higher in France.
Do you think that is something that would be helpful for Houma artists to have a international market? Or
Well, it would probably be limited, like maybe find a shop that would handle our things. But since I went, 93, 94, 96, Janie went and others have gone maybe recently, like 3-4 years ago, or maybe more recent. I don't know if they still do it,
sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Would you say that you, you were saying that you're supplementing your income, but do you think that you were making a living wage, or you have made a living wage from your work over your life?
No. And I tell you why. I do everything by hand. I carve by hand, I sand by hand, and I leave. So what you see is the natural wood, like mahogany red, that's what you would see, or cypress yellow. And my friends think I'm crazy because they use rotary tools, which does it much faster. And I hope to also after all these years, because you can do it faster. But I just love to carve, you know, so I would do it all by hand. And so it isn't anything like mass produced, you know, and it takes me a long time. You can catch a certain speed, you have a certain speed, but then that's it, you know, there's nowhere you can hurry, no matter how small or medium, large it is, you know. So it'd be, I couldn't do it on my carvings, I guess, you know. It'd be more, I would have it to supplement my income with something like that. Unless I could get my price for them, you know.
Right. Right. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay? I hear it.
It's fine. It's still on. Do you have, with the work that you do, is there any spiritual significance or a spiritual part of the practice of the making?
Well, I really believe that he helps me with my carvings. I really believe that, you know, well, anything I can't do without him. But I really believe that I saw him with my carvings a lot. You know, I saw God helping me do what I want in all of it, really, you know.
Do you find that there's a healing aspect from the making of the work, whether for you or for who the work gets shared with?
Well, I call it a good therapy.
Yeah.
Really. And it is. It is. I'll sit in a spot for hours and hours. And that's what I find strange. People, you get up about every half hour. I would sit there for hours and hours, just in one spot, you know. And then I get up just like regular, you know. And I still do it. Still. Well, except like at the Jazz Fest, I would get there 8 o'clock in the morning and really stand up all day, you know, really stand up all day. I mean, not take a seat any kind of way. And I guess it's because of my age. I saw the last time there, you know, I couldn't do that anymore.
Would you say that Jazz Fest is one of your best markets?
It is. It is my best market, yeah. And I used to do Lafayette often. I don't do it anymore. I did it for 29 straight years in Lafayette. And one day the homeless house called me and they were paying me real good. And it was going to be the time as the Acadian Festival in Lafayette. So I went up there, I said, you know, they said, well, Roy, go where the money is. So I went, but I never went back to Lafayette, you know, and they still have their festival. Not like before, because they have to do it in a different section. The museum, it was with the museum, what they called then the museum and planetarium on their grounds. Then the museum moved downtown. And now I understand they have to rent space, you know, at the Girard Park for their festival. But I belong to the Lafayette Art Guild, which is, I've always belonged to. They have a shop downtown, and that works out real good whenever I can get some things in there, you know. Real good, yeah.
Is there anything that you might be able to recommend that that the United Houma Nation could do to help support artists?
Well, I think by helping or helping by us having a co-op, that was real good. The tribe there was the tribes. I think that was real good. But then there's only certain amount of things you can do. If the people or the craft aren't there, you're limited. But I really believe that the tribe really supports the co-op a lot. As a matter of fact, I heard that they were going to try to even maybe get an art craft shop again. I really think that would help. It would help because there's very few craft people, but then it would help them.
Yeah. And do you think that an online presence would help too, like an internet marketplace, or is that something that?
Yeah, I from what I get from artists, that would really help. I don't have one. I'm not computer wise, but the Division of the Arts has had me with them since the '80s. I know, but I don't have anything new showing up there. I'm sure it's been a while, but a lot of artists, I understand, do real good with the internet, computers, and yeah, that would help us. I don't do things fast, and of course, I realize that if somebody was to order something, they would have a wait, and I guess I could do certain things like that, I like to do different things, but and if somebody order a special something, well, I could do it, but would take time. And I know if you want something special, you wait for it, also.
Yeah. Are you passing your skills on? Do you ever work with younger people and share your work and your skills?
We've done it with the school board for 3 years one time. Pomade weaving, and wood carving. But there were very few young people who were really interested in keeping it up, because at that time they go home and games and TV, But I can tell you that if you're going to do this, it takes patience, It takes time, and you have to have a passion for it,
Yeah, true.
So it's hard to get the kids going that way, I mean, you show them 1 hour in school, then they get back home and they want to do something else, what they used to do.
Just one more question about the co-op that I thought of is, when it was formally organized, was it like, if I was an artist, I could come to the co-op and I had to pay certain dues, or there was a certain responsibility, or you just sign up?
No, just sign up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of a...
Yeah. Anybody, who did really, we would say traditional craft, but so they would usually learn palmetto weaving from someone, or wood carving, or on their own, like me, or maybe learn on their own. So anybody could just join up, if it was supposedly Houma Indians,
Do you find that some of the other artists are having a harder time to gather their materials that they need, whether it be palmetto or cypress, to make the other materials?
I've heard some people who wanted to do palmetto weaving say they couldn't get palmetto, but then you have to know where to look, and you have to know where to look. But then it might not be easy to get if it's on private property, Because I remember the cypress. I used to get cypress for Mr. Serial, and we would usually have to get permission to cut a cypress tree somewhere, you know. So the material could be a problem, yes.
Do you have any hopes and dreams for the future generation of Houma artists that are coming? As someone who's been doing the work for so long, are there any?
I would really love to see people doing it more, you know, because I enjoy it so much. And I just love, you know, like visiting France, Washington, and other places. You know, I really enjoy that, moving, going to different places, meeting people. You know.
It changed your life, huh? If you.
Well, yeah, I feel that, you know, meeting people and talking to them, and it's all different from what you've been doing, and you know, it's really interesting.
Kind of back to that question of what could the tribe do to help. Is there anything that you think that the state or the federal government could do to help support Houma crafts and artists?
Excuse me. Well, we taught, we had a grant, taught in school for 3 years. I think things like that would help, you know, if we got grants and we could get the people. I really think that you could get the people to learn, want to learn, you know, if they have the time, and you know, as for the material, you know, you might need funds for the material too, in case someone is hard on somebody to pay, you know. But yeah, with funding from the tribe or the government, you know, and have teachers too, like we had at the July Community Center in the early 80s. The people knew how to, they knew how to teach, but also they had experience going out and sell, you know.
So education, it's always a really important thing that, yes, I would agree with that. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us?
Oh.
Any last words, or?
I think you got it all out of me. No, I don't know. I just hope that I wish our crafts could grow, you know, really. I enjoy it so much, and I've been doing it for a long time. And well, it's hard to find young kids who will do it, you know, or young people who will do it. I hope that comes across, though. I hope we do find them, you know.
Yeah. Maybe it's like what you said, though, that they just haven't been able to be introduced to it.
True,
you know?
true.
That's
True.
That education piece.
Yeah, because, like I say, I met some people who were interested in, like the palmetto weaving, you know, and they said they couldn't get the material. Now I know about the material because I've done it so long, you know, but we had to get permission from the people to go cut down the material. And sometimes you can find it on the side of the road, but that's another story, you know. You have to look, and you don't know what you're gonna get, or I mean, if you're gonna be able to get what you want. And the wood, in my case, that could be a problem. But there's the internet. But I didn't want to order my wood. You don't know what you're gonna get sometimes, you know. But I find enough wood where I can always do something, you know, something I've been doing or work with. You know?
Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing all your stories and for all your hard work. The idea and the need for the co-op is really important.
Yeah, I hope we can get that going. I really do. It would add to what the tribe does, but also I know it would help people. I'm sure of that, you know.
Yeah. And also I think that, you know, it would be good to make space for contemporary arts to have a place with the traditional and the contemporary, be able to be in conversation with each other or sitting next to each other on a table, and not one being better than the other, but that they're both interesting and beautiful in their own way.
Yeah. My thing was that I do animals, which is traditional, you can say. But my finish, I felt, was more contemporary-like, you know. But one day, I was inducted into the Louisiana Folk Life Master Hall of Fame, and I didn't consider the way I finished my pieces folk life, you know. I mean, seal it, you know, and all that. Because Mr. Serial, he would take an axe and a piece of wood, and he'll make you an alligator or a Statue of Liberty, you know, like that. Where me, I sand it real smooth and then put a sealer on it, you know, and it looked more contemporary, you know, more modern, like. Yeah, but I think there is a connection where you can work it together. I believe. Yeah, I believe it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. I hope we can come hang out with you, and maybe you could give us a lesson on a carving lesson. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to learn, you know.
Yeah, and to practice patience.
Practice patience, yes. And like I say, I call it a passion. I really do, you know. I just enjoy it so much. I tell people, I say, I could say it's a lot of work, I said, but I love it too much to say it's work, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Life, work, and love.
But yeah, but you got to sit there and do it, you know, and like I say, if you enjoy it, you know, it's great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Roy.
Oh, okay, Monique, you're welcome.